Recently, I learned to use the AI software notebook.lm.com. One can upload a document and the software can absorb the contents in 2 or 3 minutes and come back with a written summary as well as an audio commentary of the contents. The comments are in the form of conversations between two voices, which, unless you are told beforehand, sound like human beings. Usually, the comments are free of factual errors. In addition, they provide explanations which are insightful, perceptive, and sometimes humorous. I usually learn new things from them. It is just astonishing. After learning to use the software, I upload the contents of my memoir, Stories from Bygone Years, written in 2019, one chapter at a time. I now have a collection of 2 AI voices, which I refer to as the 2 AI professors, telling my life story with insightful and interesting, albeit somewhat flattery comments. They are excellent storytellers. I hope that in due course, my 3 grandchildren will listen to them and learn about our family history. I thought some of my stories may be of interest to my friends, former colleagues, and former students who are subscribers or who occasionally listen to my YouTube channel. This video is the beginning of Stories from Bygone Years told by 2 artificial intelligence professors. Here are what they say about, quote, preface and contents, unquote.
Let's dive into A Life Well Lived with Stories from Bygone Years, Tales from Many Cities by Kai-Fong Lee.
Yeah.
And just that title right there, so intriguing already. And we're going to learn that it's not your typical autobiography. It's so much more than that.
It really is. What struck me right away was how this whole thing came about.
Yeah.
Lee wasn't out there looking for fame or fortune. It was his family
Oh, wow.
that encouraged him to write these stories down,
How cool.
to preserve those memories for future generations. Which I think is just such a powerful motivator, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And you can just feel that kind of intimacy bit right from the start, just in the way he writes.
Absolutely, yeah.
He opens with this really poignant quote from an old ballad, actually.
Okay.
Years of gladness, days of joy, like the torrents of spring, they hurried away. Kind of makes your heart ache a little bit, right?
It really does.
Knowing that time just rushes on.
It does, and it speaks to that, I think, very human urge we have to hold on to those moments,
Yeah.
to capture them somehow.
Yeah,
And stories become our way of doing that right.
absolutely.
It's how we preserve our experiences, we share them with others, and it connects us
Yes.
across generations.
It's like building a bridge to the past. And speaking of bridges,
Yeah.
the way this book is structured, it's like a map.
Okay.
Leading us through the landscape of Lee's life.
Okay.
2 volumes, each
Yeah.
one packed with chapters that read like these little snapshots.
Yeah.
But here's where it gets really interesting.
Okay.
Some of these chapter titles
Yeah.
are like mini mysteries themselves.
Oh, absolutely.
Chapter
Yeah.
type.
They really are. They're like these little teasers
Yeah.
that just draw you in.
Yeah.
I found myself jotting down questions in the margins just from like the table of contents.
Right. Like before August 20, 1957, a day that lives in my memory.
Wow.
Okay, August 20, 1957.
Yeah.
That date just leaps out at you.
That's,
Like, what happened on that day? Was it a turning point?
Was it a secret love affair?
Was it, some life-altering event?
Yeah.
I'm already hooked.
Right.
And we haven't even turned the first page.
I know. And it's not just about these individual stories.
Right.
It's these titles, when you look at them together,
Yes.
they start to reveal these really fascinating threads
Yes.
that run through his life.
Yes.
Like you've got Around the World in 100 Days.
Okay.
That alone hints at a life less ordinary, right?
Right.
It hints at a global perspective
Hmm.
that I'm sure we're gonna uncover as we go deeper. But
Mm-hmm.
I bet a lot of you listening have had those moments in your own lives where you've
Yes.
encountered different cultures, different ways of seeing the world, and
Yes.
it just shifts your perspective, doesn't it?
Totally. And then you have chapters like
Yeah.
the Chinese University of Hong Kong Part 1,
Right.
the Chinese University of Hong Kong Part 2.
Clearly a significant part of his life.
Right. Like clearly a big chunk of time.
Seems like a pivotal setting.
Right.
Yeah.
Maybe that's where he meets his partner.
Right.
Maybe that's, some career defining moment.
Exactly. And then you consider titles like National Radio Astronomy Observatory.
Ooh.
So it suggests a scientific background, an academic background
Okay.
to his life as well, and seeing how those professional experiences might intertwine with his
Yes.
personal life.
Yes.
That's going to be fascinating.
It's like piecing together a puzzle, right?
Yes.
And then some of the pieces are such head scratchers.
Yes.
Like from the rooftop of Science Center to the Coast of China Marathon.
Right.
What is that about?
I love it.
Like it's quirky, it's unexpected.
Those little details that make you want to lean in and go, wait,
Yeah.
what?
Right, yes, exactly.
And they speak to a certain zest for life, I think.
Yes,
A willingness to embrace the unexpected,
yes.
which I find inspiring.
Me too. And I love that we're getting that just from these titles.
I know, right?
But here's the thing. This is where you, our amazing listeners, come in.
Yes.
We're just scratching the surface here.
We are.
We're just giving you a little taste
A little teaser.
of what's to come.
Yes.
The real magic happens when
Yeah.
you open the book and you
Yeah.
experience these stories
You got it.
for yourselves.
It's
It's like we're handing you this beautifully wrapped gift.
a gift filled with memories and reflections and insights from a life fully lived.
Exactly. And while each chapter title is like a beautifully tied ribbon,
It is.
it's what's inside that really counts.
It's about unpacking those layers
Yes.
and discovering what resonates with you.
Yes. And that brings us to a thought-provoking question
Okay.
as we kind of wrap up this first part of our deep dive.
Okay.
Okay, given everything we've just talked about,
Mhm.
the book's origin, these tantalizing chapter titles,
Yeah.
these hints of a life
Yeah.
that is so rich and varied and full of these diverse experiences,
Yeah.
what story do you think Kai-Feng Lee
Yeah.
himself would say is most important?
Ooh,
And why?
that is a great question.
Right.
And really challenges us to consider what truly matters
Yes.
in the grand scheme of a life story.
Yes, exactly. And on that note,
Okay.
we're going to leave you to ponder that question.
Right.
Stick around because when we come back, we're going to be digging deeper
Yes.
into the heart of stories from bygone years
Let's do it.
and uncovering all the wisdom and insights that lie within.
Sounds good.
When we were talking about those chapter titles, it
Yeah.
really struck me how much anticipation
Mm.
he builds, with just a simple phrase or a date.
Yeah.
It makes you realize the power of storytelling,
Okay.
even in its simplest form.
Totally. And it makes you consider
Yeah,
what are those moments in our own lives
Yeah.
that really stand out? Why do some memories linger
Right.
while others fade?
yes.
And as we sort of move into the heart of stories from bygone years, I think it's keep that question in mind.
Yes. Okay, so we've glimpsed the map
Yeah.
of Lee's life. Right.
Okay.
But now I want to know what lies beneath the surface.
Yes.
What can you tell us about the stories themselves?
Well, one thing that really came through for me
Yeah.
in Lee's writing is this genuine sense of joy
Okay.
that he seems to find in rediscovering his past.
Okay.
He mentions in the preface
Okay.
that he was surprised by how not boring.
Right.
He found this whole process
Yeah.
of writing it all down. It wasn't a chore for him. It was he was
Right.
reliving these years that, as he puts it, hurried away.
Yeah, no, I relate to that. I mean, I journal occasionally.
Yeah.
And it's amazing how, just those little details, a funny conversation or, just a moment of self-discovery can just,
Yes.
transport you back to like who you were at that time.
Absolutely. And for Lee,
Yeah.
who's lived such a full and varied life,
Right.
those memories often intersect with,
Yes.
major historical events, cultural shifts.
Right.
Think about that chapter title, To Stay or Not to Stay? That was the 1997 question.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, 1997 in Hong Kong. That was a pivotal year.
Yes.
That marked the handover from British to Chinese rule.
Yeah.
Time of just tremendous uncertainty and change.
Wow. Even if he wasn't like directly involved in politics or anything, just
Right.
living through that.
Imagine the stories
Yes.
he could tell from that period.
Right. Just to experience that
Yeah.
must have just like shaped his perspective so much.
It makes you think, right?
Yeah.
What global events have really shaped your own worldview?
Yes, right. Absolutely.
Because that's what's so fascinating about memoir.
Yeah.
It offers this really intimate glimpse into history
Yes.
through a personal lens.
Yeah.
We're not just getting dry facts and figures here.
Right.
We're feeling the human impact of these events.
It's like the difference between like reading a textbook and like listening to your grandparents reminisce about their youth.
Exactly.
Right. One gives you like the facts and the other one like puts you right there.
Totally.
Right in the moment.
It's true. And while Lee certainly touches on
Yeah.
these momentous occasions,
Yeah.
he also finds meaning in the everyday.
Yes.
Remember how we talked about the book's origins?
Mm-hmm.
How it was inspired by his family?
Yeah.
That informality, I think, really shines through.
Yes, it does.
In his writing, it's not this like polished,
Right.
self-important autobiography.
No.
It feels more like we're
Mm.
gathering around a fireplace, listening to these tales.
And that's what's so appealing to me.
I agree.
Is that it doesn't feel like he's
Yeah.
trying to impress us or anything. He's just sharing.
He's sharing moments of vulnerability. He's sharing moments of humor,
Yeah.
moments of reflection, moments we can all relate to.
Yes. Have you ever had that experience
Full foot talk?
where you just like connect with a story
Mm.
on like a really personal level?
Yes.
Even if like your actual life experiences are like
Totally different.
totally different.
It's amazing.
And that's the power of a skilled storyteller, right?
Yes.
They can make those connections feel effortless.
Right.
And I think Luke has this real knack for finding the universal
Yes.
in the specifics.
Yes.
So while his stories might be about his time
Yeah.
at the Chinese University of Hong Kong or
Right.
his encounters with prominent figures like Charles Cow, the underlying themes,
Right.
the search for purpose,
Yeah.
the complexities of relationships, the impact of mentors,
Yes.
those resonate.
It's like he's holding up a mirror
Yes.
to our own lives.
Totally.
And prompting us to reflect on our own journeys, our own stories.
It's true. It's true. And that's a perfect segue
Yes.
to something I find really fascinating about this book.
Okay. We've been talking about how Lee's stories resonate on this really personal level.
Yeah.
But I'm curious about who he saw as his audience, like beyond his family.
Yeah. Did he ever imagine that these stories would reach
Right.
like a wider audience?
That's a really interesting question.
Yeah.
And, he actually addresses that in the preface.
Okay.
He initially started writing just for his family.
Right.
But as he went on, he realized that these stories might have a wider appeal.
Okay.
He thought of his friends, he thought of former colleagues, even his students.
Right, because it's like those
Yeah.
shared experiences, right?
Yes.
Like those chapters about the Chinese University of Hong Kong or, his memories of figures like Charles Cow.
Right.
It's like they offer this window
Totally.
into these really specific worlds
Yeah.
and communities
You don't
that
often get to see.
we might not otherwise get to see.
Exactly. And it's like getting a backstage pass
Yes.
to these different aspects of his life.
Right.
From academia to
Yes.
his personal reflections.
Yes.
And going back to that, that original title he considered.
Stories for my grandchildren.
Yes. Stories for my grandchildren.
Yeah.
It highlights that he wasn't just
Right.
sharing anecdotes.
Yeah.
Right? He was also sharing values,
Yes.
lessons, a certain way of looking at the world
Mm-hmm.
that he hoped to pass down.
It's like he's creating this legacy
Yes.
that goes beyond his own lifetime, even.
Yes.
Right. He's weaving together personal history,
Yes.
reflections on these major events, and then these little
Yeah.
nuggets of wisdom
It's true.
gleaned from this life that he so fully embraced.
And that brings us back to the power of stories
Yeah.
to transcend time, right?
Right.
His experiences told through his unique lens become a way
Yes.
for us to connect with the past,
Yes.
to understand the present, and even to ponder the future.
Yes. It's like those Russian nesting dolls.
Oh, I love that.
Right. You open up one story, and inside you find another and another and another,
Yes.
and each one reveals a new layer of meaning.
I love that analogy. And just like those dolls,
Yes.
there's a core message at the heart of it all, right? Yes.
And I think for Lee, it's about embracing curiosity,
Okay.
staying open to new experiences,
Mhm.
and finding joy in the journey,
Yes.
even when faced with challenges.
Yes. Something we can all take to heart, I think, no
Absolutely.
matter where we are.
Well said.
In our own journeys, well said.
It's been such a pleasure
Yes.
diving into stories from bygone years with you.
Me too.
I have a feeling this is a book that will stay with me for a long time.
Me too.
Yeah.
And for you listening,
Yes.
as you open this book and embark on your own exploration
Yes.
of Kai-Fong Lee's world,
Beautiful.
we'll leave you with this final thought.
Okay.
What stories from your own life would you deem worthy of sharing?
Ooh.
And what do you hope those stories will convey
Yes.
to those who encounter them, whether it's family, friends,
Right.
or even future generations?
Think of the legacy you want to leave behind.
Yes.
The wisdom you've gained. The moments that
Mhm.
have shaped who you are.
Beautifully put. And on that note, we will wrap up this deep dive. Sounds good.
Until next time, happy reading.
That's the AI commentary on the 3 pages at the beginning of Stories from Bygone Years. The one on the preface and contents. Now the whole 2 volumes of Stories from Bygone Years are available online. Just search the title and it should appear. End of the first segment of the AI comment of Stories from Bygone Years.